I know, some of you will be thinking, another Declan Rice video. Well, in fairness, he's in the title of the video and on the thumbnail, so if you've clicked on it expecting a non-Declan Rice video, I think the errors on your part for this one, but I do get it. There's a lot of Declan Rice content at the minute because there's a lot of reports. Here on Hammers Chat, we talk about what is going on in the news world and we give our opinion about it. We report on the news rather than report the news itself. Hopefully that makes sense. But anyway, later on tonight there's a non-Declan Rice video, so if you don't want the Declan Rice stuff, click off now. But for those of you who do want the latest, stick around, because apparently Chelsea are set to make a bid for West Ham United's captain in the next 48 hours. That's according to Clary and Hugh, who have been briefed by a top source at the London Stadium. It's David Sullivan. David Sullivan has briefed Clary and Hugh. They won't say it, but I will. David Sullivan has told Clary and Hugh he expects Chelsea to make a bid in the next couple of days. Now, do I believe it? Not necessarily. I believe Sullivan's told Clary and Hugh, by the way. I just don't necessarily believe Chelsea are set to make that bid in the next couple of days. It's in West Ham's interest that the media believe there's interest in Declan Rice from Chelsea and Manchester City. And that's possibly enough at this point. As long as the media believe it and they're reporting on it, just to try and create a little bit of urgency from Arsenal, get that price up, get Arsenal closer to West Ham's valuation of Declan Rice, that would be job done from David Sullivan. Does it mean there's genuine, legit interest from Chelsea and Manchester City in Declan Rice? Not necessarily. There could be an official bid from Chelsea come. At this point, I'm not going to get too excited. I still get the feeling it's a one-horse race and West Ham are just doing their best to try and drive the price up, as they should. But there is a little bit of like a transfer rumour triangle going on at the minute involving West Ham, Man City and Chelsea. And what happens with those other couple of deals may alter the interest from those clubs in Declan Rice. Bit of a tongue twister so far, but stick with me here. So far, we know Chelsea want Caicedo from Brighton. It's felt a little bit inevitable because Arsenal have withdrawn their interest. Bayern Munich were linked to him. They've also withdrawn their interest. So Chelsea have got a free run at Caicedo, essentially. Now, negotiations between those two clubs are set to happen next week. The deal, essentially, between Chelsea and Caicedo is pretty much done. A bit like Arsenal and Declan Rice. The personal terms are not an issue. It's done. The player wants to go. It's sorted. It's just a case of the two clubs agreeing something. And Caicedo was valued at around about 70 million, 80 million. It felt like Chelsea were going to purchase him for around that price. But the reports in the last 24 hours have got a little bit interesting, actually, in that Brighton are now valuing Caicedo at 120 million because West Ham are valuing Declan Rice at 120 million. Brighton have the belief that Caicedo is just as good as Declan Rice. So West Ham want 110 million, Brighton want 110 million. Do you know something? That's exactly what they should be doing. I'm quite enjoying this. Not Rice leaving West Ham, obviously, but I'm enjoying West Ham, Brighton, any other club outside that Sky Sports top six, sticking to their guns and giving it back to them, because for far too long, our kind of clubs have been academies. We've been feeder clubs for those clubs. Man, you come knocking, yeah, you can have our player, here you go, thank you, nice doing business for you, we'll move along, kind of thing. It's nice to see us actually having a little bit of backbone, saying, yeah, you want him, you're paying top dollar, a bit like Aston Villa did to Man City with Jack Grealish. You know, the Premier League clubs are richer now, the owners are richer, there's a bit more ambition within these clubs, and it's good to see West Ham sticking up to Arsenal, saying, no, you're not having Declan Rice on the cheap. 2 years left in his contract, it's fine, we'll sell him next summer if we have to. It's good to see Brighton doing the same with Caicedo at the minute. So, but that does throw a curveball towards Chelsea. Now again, it depends on if you actually believe Brighton will stick to their guns on this one, but they did it in January. Brighton have shown in January, when Caicedo basically announced on Twitter, he basically said, thank you to the Brighton fans, love it, I've enjoyed my time here, and Brighton basically said, I don't know where you think you're going, sunshine, we've accepted nothing and you're staying here. Now, there's believed to be a gentleman's agreement between De Zerbi and Caicedo that he can go this summer. Sounds a little bit familiar so far, doesn't it? So it's expected he'll go, but Brighton are playing hardball, saying, no, we're going to value him the same as Declan Rice. And if they do that, hypothetically, if Brighton do that and stick to it, that would give Chelsea a choice. Well, do you then prefer Declan Rice? Was part of the reason they were going for Caicedo over Declan Rice, because of that 50 million difference between the 70 and 120 million, was that gulf in difference the reason they started targeting the Brighton midfielder? But if they're the same price, suddenly Chelsea might think, actually, we do prefer Declan Rice to Caicedo, so now we're going to pursue that. Of course, the problem is, would Rice go to Chelsea? We know he's a big Chelsea fan. There's no doubt about that whatsoever. The problem is they're a bit of a shambles at the minute. No European football next season. Will Pochettino be okay? We don't know yet. Will Bowley rein it in a little bit and let football people take control at that football club? We don't know. While I speak about Declan Rice potentially taking a gamble going to Arsenal, it's only in the way of silverware. There's no guarantee he's going to win the Premier League and the Champions League at Arsenal. But with Chelsea, I think he's taking a lot more of a gamble there. Is he even joining a stable football club? Will Pochettino be the manager by the end of the season? Never mind this time next year. You don't know. You can't guarantee anything. So I think he'd, despite it being his boyhood club, I think Rice would be taking a hell of a punt going to Chelsea, which again makes sense as to why he's preferring Arsenal at this point. Now the other transfer twist in all this saga, if that wasn't enough, is Mateo Kovacic. Obviously a Chelsea player. Manchester City want him for around about 35 million. Apparently it's agreed between the two clubs. Gundogan's future at the minute is unknown, out of contract, but City have made him an offer. We're all just waiting to find out whether Gundogan's going to stay at Manchester City or he's going to leave. Possibly one of the clubs after him is Arsenal. So there's a lot of like links going on between centre midfielders and all these clubs at the minute. And it's say tricky to track. It's not that difficult. It's just interesting. There's so many dominoes. All it takes is one to fall and then you'll see the rest of them go as well. But should Gundogan go and Kovacic is a replacement, I just can't convince myself Man City need Declan Rice. Not at that price. Not at 100 odd million. Would he do the John Stones role and John Stones drops back into defence because Kyle Walker's apparently leaving? I don't know. Again, we're speculating here and it's a lot of speculation. It's if that happens, and that happens, then maybe Manchester City would want Declan Rice. Because I'll say it, Rice cannot do what Gundogan does. He's not good enough. He's not good enough to do what he does. But can Gundogan do what Declan Rice does? I don't think so. They're two completely different players. Rice does not have that attacking side to him that Gundogan does, and vice versa. Gundogan can't do defensively what Declan Rice does. I think he's good enough for Man City, Declan Rice, I do. Would he displace Rodri? I don't think so. I think he'd have to play next to Rodri, which is where John Stones currently is. Like I said, John Stones would have to then move. Maybe that is the plan. Maybe that's the plan. But that's why when I see that Man City are interested in Declan Rice, I tend to take it with a pinch of salt. If Calvin Phillips is open to the move and Man City were able to get Declan for 70 million plus Calvin Phillips, then I get why they would do it. Okay, they're upgrading Calvin Phillips massively. I get that. But again, there's a lot of what ifs going into this already, and that's just to convince myself that Man City's interest is genuine. But should Kovacic go there, again, I'm just struggling to convince myself that Man City will turn up to the table. Will Chelsea turn up again? It depends on Brighton sticking to their guns over the valuation of Caicedo. Now, we're expecting Arsenal to make another bid, whether it's today or tomorrow. We're expecting it imminently. It's not arrived at West Ham United yet. I mean, there's still, I say arguments, there's still discrepancies in reporting as to what the first bid actually was, whether it was a total of 80 million or 80 million plus 10 million of add-ons, etc, etc. Various outlets are reporting different bids that we've received from Arsenal, but what we do know is we've rejected it, called it embarrassing and sent Arsenal packing. It doesn't bother me. At the end of the day, if Arsenal came in with a 90 million, just 90 million cash bid, A, we'd possibly take it, but B, all that's going to do is make Sullivan confident he's going to get 110 million out of it. And Sullivan will go, whoa, that's their opening bid. Happy days. They're not that far away. We can get what we want here. Arsenal had to lowball it. They absolutely did. They did the right thing, I think. I think Arsenal did the right thing. It will be frustrating as an Arsenal fan. They know the risks, which is you're allowing Chelsea and Man City to potentially weigh up a bid and come in for Declan Rice. But that's the risk you take when you're negotiating. West Ham can describe it as embarrassing. I didn't really find it that bad. I think it's never getting rejected. But I would be shocked if Arsenal generally felt that that bid they put in, let's just go with the 80 plus 10, because that's the one I see reported the most, and that's the one I'm tending to believe at this point. But even if you take the most generous reported one yesterday, there's no way Arsenal expected that to get accepted. When Arsenal made that bid, they didn't think, oh, fingers crossed West Ham. They wouldn't have done. They would have thought, right, put that one in. While they're rejecting it, let's get working on the second bid because we know what's away to happen here. There's a lot of talk about possible player exchange. Again, with Chelsea, the report on Clavan Hughes suggested that West Ham might be interested in dealing with Chelsea because they've obviously got Conor Gallagher and Ruben Loftus-Cheek in particular. I'm surprised Armando Broja hasn't been brought up in the conversation a little bit more in regards to part exchange. I think they're very difficult to do. I'll be shocked if when we sell Rice there's a player coming in the opposite direction in the deal. There might be a separate deal. There was reports last night that Arsenal may allow West Ham to have like first refusal on any player they sell this summer. So let's just take Smith Rowe. Let's just say Arsenal were ready to sell Smith Rowe for 30 million. West Ham would be able to pay 30 million and get that bid automatically accepted for any player Arsenal sell this summer. The problem with that is who they're going to sell. You don't know, do you? That could be worth nothing. If they don't sell any players, that first refusal is pointless. You look at the players expected to leave Arsenal. Pepe, Kieran Tierney possibly. No, I would love Tierney here, but the point is that guarantees nothing. I do wonder if there's an alternative deal to be made should the Chelsea interest be genuine. Like I said, I'm not convinced I believe it, which is a loan move. You know, we sell Rice to them for, let's just say 100 million, or it's worth 100 million, and we get Conor Gallagher on loan for the season in return. I could see something like that happening because it suits both parties then, doesn't it? We get a player that can cover Declan Rice for the next season. We can then use the money to go and replace Declan Rice at the same time as well. It pressures off a little bit because we've now got somebody in that can sort of help us in there, because we do need two midfielders. We need two players to replace Declan Rice. I think when I'm reading all the subscribers' comments and stuff, I think that's the general consensus. Most people are saying we need two players in, plus whether it be a Harvey Barnes or someone else, just to make it the squad a bit better. But anyway, I'm going to shut up and disappear. But that's the latest. The latest is that Chelsea are going to make a bid for Declan Rice in the next 48 hours. Like I said, do I believe it? Not really, because this is getting leaked from West Ham's side of things. And I get why, by the way. I get why we're doing. 100%. I agree with what Sullivan's doing here, which is try and make on there's interest, try and convince Arsenal that Chelsea and Man City are serious about Declan Rice, that they're going to be bidding for Declan Rice, so you better hurry up. And do you know something? It might be true. It might, and I hope it is. The more clubs bidding for Declan Rice, the better for West Ham United, because the most dangerous thing for West Ham is that this is a one-horse race, and I just worry and get the feeling that it is. And I know a lot of people say, well, we'll just keep him then. I have that mindset as well. But in order to believe that, you've got to believe that Sullivan will be prepared to do that. And I just don't. I'm convinced 100% Declan Rice is going this summer. It's just a case of when and how much. It's not even a case of where anymore for me. I'm convinced he's going to Arsenal. It's just a case of when and how much. We'll wait and see. We shall wait and see. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video, please do drop a like on it, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Don't worry, there's a video up later which is not about Declan Rice. I'll catch you then.